Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I've got a replay analysis for you today with Captain Obvious, and he is driving his M3 Lee from the clan Hive 1. Tier 4 in a 3-5-7 battle. He's bottom tier. He's in a medium tank, but of course it's the infamous M3 Lee. When he sent me this replay asking for an analysis, he said he liked it. A lot of people don't like it, and one of the reasons is voila, it is essentially a TD. It's got a casemate design. The top turret doesn't do anything in the game. The main gun is that gun sticking out of a casemate kind of system. It's a very strange early World War II tank, American tank. Did not get a lot of love, but was decently effective early on. And we'll see what Captain Obvious can do with it. This will be a good example, especially for you new players. One of the things he noted is he has about 3,500 battles, and he admitted that he had a lot to learn. Well, don't we all? Let's see what Captain Obvious can learn from this then. First things first, you will see that we have loaded into Redshire, and he is on the north spawn, and he is currently driving along the red line over to the northwest of the map. He mentioned that he likes to play it as a TD, which I believe is a wise decision with this tank. It's classified as a medium, but it really does not want to get too far up, and it obviously can't circle, and it doesn't do a lot of the things medium tanks do. What does it do? It's got a pretty fantastic gun for a tier 4. It actually has a really nice gun, if you can believe it or not. Fires pretty quickly, has decent pen, does okay damage, but it's a great platform as far as guns go. You'll notice it also has a pretty good field of regard, or right and left traverse, which means it doesn't have to shift its hull as much as some TDs. So he's going to take up a position way back here in the corner in A1. So let's discuss this for a minute for Captain Obvious and for you new players who may be running around at tier 4, 5, and 6. TDs. TDs are support tanks, or they can play the support tank. I think any tank can be a support tank depending on the situation. But TDs excel at it rather well. This means that you need to stay somewhere back far enough that you don't immediately get spotted. So you're not trying to get up front, but you do need to be someplace that's useful. I've talked about this map quite a bit. The main event is usually over here. This particular game is going to turn out a little bit different. This right here, these two ridges where you can see there's already a bunch of people lit up, are also very important. This side is less so important, and you usually want a couple people over there, but I don't ever really recommend that players go there. Somebody on the team always will. But Captain Obvious is headed over here, and let's see what he does. It's not a terrible spot. I would prefer that he was a little bit further up, or maybe on the ridge up at C4 or 5, and that is an initial positioning decision. But he pretty immediately gets some customers in here. We've got a Covenator coming in. There's a Panzer IV-H trolling around in the castle, and the Panzer T-25 is starting to get some licks in and also get hit. There is also another TD right next to Captain Obvious. The other American TD is actually in the TD line, the M8A1. And Captain Obvious is going to be looking around. Now let's talk a little bit about this positioning. I already discussed it wasn't a terrible spot, but it's not a great spot either. You're really relying on the enemy to come through this castle right here. Also, if you look at his draw distance, he can't really, from here, support anybody that is lit up on this ridge. So the only way to get shots at these guys is to be up here where the rest of his team really is, or somewhere a little bit closer here, but even so, then this ridge gets in the way. This is all kind of a no man's land down here. He can hide in these buildings, but there's no real shots to be gained by hanging out in these buildings. So this spot is of extremely limited value early in the game. Yes, if they push through here hard, you may get some shots. Yes, if they come across here and start pushing in, you might get some shots, or they get up on the middle of this ridge over here, up on top of this middle ridge right here. But right now, this is a very passive starting position. I actually like quite a bit where the JPZ-4 is over here and the T-80. There's some bushes you can use. You can also flex to take shots this way, but right here is probably where I would have initially positioned my M3 Lee on this game. A little bit of a scrum going on there. Now an SU-85 has moved up. Still some guys lit in the middle, and Captain Obvious is looking for shots. I would say one thing you want to do here, Captain Obvious, look how many guys are lit up. The Panzer IV, the Sioux, the Valentine, the T-34-85. There are 4 different targets. You spend a lot of time looking at guys that are very obviously behind walls, and you're probably not going to get shots there. Some of this is map awareness and experience in the game. When I say camera technique, what I mean is, hit shift, is zoom out and look around like this. Instead of being zoomed in all the time on what they're doing, that's what you're doing right there, zoom out and look around, because you might be able to get a light up. I don't think we can see either one of these guys, but at the very least investigate it as quick as possible. Look at them, zoom in, see if you can get a shot on them. Stop being quite so much staring down the soda straw. There you go. That was an example. Looks like you use shift for zoom as well. This is something I talk about quite a bit. I do not like shift for the zoom. I find that you end up overshooting or missing guys you're trying to aim at. But that is technique, and it really is personal preference. So if you can make it work, that's fine. But every time I see someone do that and then miss a guy because they zoom in where that guy isn't, kind of proves my point. All right, so there we go. Got a shot. Finally getting some customers. These guys are pushing in. And this is a great example of what I'm talking about on positioning and being a passive type early position where you're not really up far enough to get shots early in the game. The enemy has pushed in, and they're actually in pretty good position against your team, and that is the only time your gun comes into play, which means that they've taken the initiative. And it's not necessarily the TD's job just to sit around until the enemy takes the initiative. Preferably you would be in position and taking shots. But the fight has come to you. Let's see what happens as the fight is now right in front of you. Again, maybe a little bit more investigation on the T-34-85. I think you may have had a shot there a couple times. And that just comes with experience on learning how to zoom in and zoom out and zoom back in quickly and look at all the targets. Your team's starting to take a bit of a whacking. And there's the JPZ-4. Backed out. Now I don't think Captain Obvious has Sixth Sense, so that is hurting him just a little bit. Nice job, you found the Sioux. Now that's an example of what I was talking about. You're searching around, you're looking, zooming in, trying to find where you've got shots. That dude is more than likely behind the hill. So what about that 34-85M? There you go. Yeah, careful driving. Getting near rocks, you'll find that happen quite a bit in this game, where you drive your tank up on a rock and it gets a little silly. Now, this was an interesting decision for me. I'm not exactly sure why you're moving forward. That 34-85M is still down in the flats there, and I think you may have still been able to work a shot against him. Another possibility would have been to move back over this way, maybe into this group of bushes here potentially, especially if they're pushing your guys up top. So you're getting a little bit aggressive moving in, and that's not bad. I do like aggression, but I question the timing of it because there's so many of their guns over here. But guess what? You find some. It doesn't look like they see you right now. If they do, they're not paying attention. This guy, though, gets tired of being hit and actually sees you. So these are all good shots. I'd have taken one more. He hit you, but I think you had one more opportunity. You probably could have killed him. But you're backing out. Now the benefit of backing out is if any of his other friends had put turrets on you, you may have stopped them from shooting you there as well. So yep, investigate the 30-01. Good job. Didn't see the highlights, so he must be behind one of the buildings. And now we're going to move up in towards these buildings. And this is where it's difficult to use the M3 based on it being a casemate TD type tank. However, what you will notice for a tier 4, it is fairly zippy and pretty maneuverable. So its ability to reposition and push if need be is not terrible as far as casemates go, and you can see that the field regard for the gun is pretty good. So there's that guy. You shoot him, put another shot in him. He's going around the corner, and alright, so I think maybe you could have lead turn that move a little bit. You knew he was backing up and going around that building. I would have started moving earlier, and this technique that you use of driving while zoomed in is pretty typical of new players. If you'd have zoomed out to that view right there at the very beginning, you'd have known just by looking and getting SA on the general surroundings that you really needed to go forward and drive around that corner to get the shots on that 30-01. So you wasted a little time doing that. There you go. Where is he? There he goes. And it looks like he's down now behind something. And I'm not sure what happens here, whether you went AFK or got busy with something else, but your tank just stopped moving, so I'm assuming you're not really with the tank right now, because there's the M3 Lee showing himself and you're not investigating it. And now we're back. So yeah, it looks like you were doing something there. Potentially a lag spike or unknown. It was interesting to me that that Panzer IV never popped out and took a shot at you. I know you were spotted in there a few times, and he was always on your flank hiding out in that castle. So that guy, he is pretty damaged, but he really did do a lot of hiding once that happened. If your intention here is to go take care of him, I think that's a good idea. But as you're driving, this is pretty typical of new players too. This requires a cross-check of the mini-map and a little bit of SA. And again, I'll talk about camera technique, because you can drive like you're doing and look this way. And guess what? Oh, hello, 3001 and M3 Lee. I don't know if we can get a light on the M3 Lee, but we definitely have shots. You can see it lit up. The 3000 or the 3001, 3001 is definitely a target. If you just spun right here, you probably could have ended that guy. I'm surprised he didn't actually shoot at you. He must have been busy looking the other way, and it continues to happen, and then you're right there. I think you notice it, but of course you've put that piece of ground between you and he, and there's nothing you can do about him now. You're more than likely spotted, so if you were thinking that, and then, oh, there we go, now we've got the shots we wanted. Oh, he got away. And again, that's anticipation once again. As you were over there looking at him and he was backing up, you probably should have been able to see that that little ravine or cut was right there, and shift up there as quickly as possible and then spin to take a shot. That's map awareness right there. A lot of that just comes with experience. But when I am looking at something like that, just to beat this dead horse, this is about the position you were in initially, maybe a little bit further back when you initially saw him and had a couple shots. Because I'm zoomed out and I'm paying attention to what he's doing, and I'm using good camera technique where I'm looking at him and then I'm looking for that Panzer IV, I probably also can see that V right there, and then I can anticipate that if I just move forward up into it a little bit, I might have got shots on him. There's the Panzer IV, outstanding. This took quite a while to get there, and he's got that derp, which was going to hurt. I would have just driven right up and killed him off. You're trying to be very surgical about shooting the top of his turret. And now he's reloaded. So he has a relatively long reload. Looks like maybe you're trying to bait him right there. That's not bad. Finally, the M8A1 does something. He's coming out. And it's pretty typical of new players. I would have just gunned him down. Somehow he missed you. That was crazy. Then the Panzer IV-H misses you. Also crazy. And your buddies moved in. Decent awareness there that he was coming. And now you can both work on this guy together. Okay, technique-wise here, you do an okay job. You come around and you're zooming in as you turned. What I would have done there is I came around, is I would have stayed zoomed out. If you just take your cursor, the little dot, and put it on him, and then right-click, auto-aim him, you might have had a better time of getting the gun on him faster. This is so close and he's not moving very fast right to left, you probably don't need the zoom in right there. You could probably have done that off a third person, and even as your tank's turning, you can move your cursor faster than your tank can turn, put the cursor on him or put the aiming dot on him, and then right click for auto aim, and then as soon as your gun came online, you could start firing away. What you did worked, but I think you could have done it a little faster. And now we're going to truck on through. Oops, see what you're doing. There you go. And I see how you're looking over. That's good. This time you're kind of looking over towards where you expect to see him. The Hetzer's way over there, so we don't have to worry about him. Looks like the M3 and the Su-85 are over there. All right, so I don't see him. And this was an interesting decision. You just truck right down. I'm wondering if you maybe could have actually had a shot on him right there. Yep. See how I just lit that guy up? If you'd have stopped right here and looked at him, you'd have had a shot. And once again, that's map awareness and anticipation. You are shifting to look for the shot, but you actually had one right here. No problem. You'd have taken that guy out. And it looks like you're going all the way over here to try to find a shot, but like I said, you didn't have to go that far. For you new players out there and for Captain Obvious, that is one of the things that will increase your damage quite a bit. And I talk about manufacturing shots and looking for shots. Sometimes you don't need a huge reposition to get that shot. You just need to shift slightly in order to show a little bit of that enemy tank and take them down. M3 Lee's going to get killed by somebody else. Now he's gone. And that loses the Su-85 Spid, who was actually on the map for quite a while before you turned towards it. So once again, just cross-checking your mini-map and the surroundings around you. Good camera technique while you drive and just trying to gain as much SA as possible. So how'd it go? I wasn't super excited about your initial position, but it didn't turn out to be too bad based on what happened in the game. You did move up, so I did like that. Even though you're playing it as a TD type of tank, you saw the opportunity to get forward and start doing some things. And from there, it's just fine-tuning things like camera technique while driving, anticipating shots, and looking for shots. But nice job. He ends up with, I believe, a Mastery 1 out of this, 868 damage in a Tier 4 TD kind of tank as a bottom tier. So overall, nice job. I hope you guys like what you saw. I hope you learned something out there today. And if you did, make sure you support the channel. And we will see you.